to Dev Talks. This is Aadi Achin. Firstly, यार, my apologies to everybody. थोड़ा network का problem था and Raja साहब थोड़ा travel कर रहे थे तो but he's been kind enough to actually take out some time for us क्योंकि बड़ी explosive situation चल रही है हमारे आसपास. And as a matter of fact, I would take you back to the conversation जो हमने इनके साथ करी थी and secondly we did with Colonel Ajay Raina also to say कि भैया ये जो हमारे साथ में AFPAC region है ना, AFPAC जैसे Americans बोलते हैं, वो भी AFPAC में पैक एफ होने वाला है वहां पर. ठीक है, इट्स गोना एक्सप्लोड एंड चीजें होनी ऑलरेडी शुरू हो गई हैं. वी डिडंट थिंक इट विल बी सो फास्ट. सो लेट्स गेट राजा साहब इनसाइड एंड स्टार्ट टेकिंग हिज ओपिनियन क्योंकि काफी कुछ हुआ है एंड वी नीड टू डिस्कस क्वाइट अ बिट ऑफ थिंग्स टू ट्राई एंड अंडरस्टैंड हो क्या रहा है. नमस्कार सर, नाइस ऑफ यू टू टेक आउट द टाइम एंड
वेरी गुड इवनिंग.
थैंक यू सो मच फॉर जॉइनिंग इन. यार ये बताओ अभी हो क्या रहा है. वी हैड डिस्कस्ड कि साहब अमेरिकन्स विल ट्राई एंड डू समथिंग थ्रू पाकिस्तान. अभी इजराइल ने हिट करा ईरान को वहां पर. ठीक है, पिछली बारी जब ऐसे टेंशन ऊपर थी वहां पर ईरान में एक ब्लास्ट हुआ था, वहां पर एक मैसेज आया ईरान को कि भाई एक्सकलेट मत करो नहीं तो तुम्हारी भी घंटी बजा सकते हैं. ठीक है, एंड दैट ब्लास्ट काइंड ऑफ चेंज द लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स. हुटीज भी काम डाउन हो गए. अभी अगेन दोबारा एस्केलेशन में ईरान के अंदर फिर अटैक होता है और वो भी चाबहार पोर्ट के ऊपर. वेरी सिग्निफिकेंट. जयशुल
चाबहार has a significance. It has a double significance. एक तो
ये क्या हो रहा है ये.
हाँ, so चाबहार का जो है there is a double significance into it. एक तो ये है कि India is jointly developing that port, right? And Afghanistan the Talibs and are looking forward for that for their supplies with India. So and we have trade relations with Taliban. We are supplying them, यहाँ से जितना भी what do you call it, Aada and all those things. We are giving them the essentials are being supplied to them through Chabahar. Now, we saw what happened in Pakistan when, their naval base was hit. So the Pakistanis have tried to do a tit for tat. But the problem with that is that, they think that they are hitting the Afghanis, but they're hitting the Afghanis in the wrong area. क्योंकि they are trying to kill two birds with the same stone. एक तो वो अफगानिस्तान को ये दिखाना चाहते हैं कि they have equal or somewhat similar capability to hit their strategic targets. दूसरा वो ईरान में जो ईरान के साथ जो उनका ऑलरेडी एक एस्केलेशन लेडर है उसको ये और ऊपर ले गए हैं. Now the Iranians are not going to take it very lightly. The Iranians are furious, but Iranian response could be of two kinds. The first response would be the direct Iranian airstrike, which we saw happening on Jaish-e-Mohammed camps, right? Or the Iranians can play the game via the Taliban. And that will be that the Iranians will sit back and watch TTP plus to carry out another attack, a large-scale attack inside Pakistan. The Iranians can supply TTP with, with material, with money, with ammunition, and they'll be happy to have a partnership with them. I think the way the Pakistan-Iran relations are going, I don't see that there will be a direct, escalation between the two nations, but rather we will see the Taliban and Iran relations getting better. क्योंकि देखिए यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम ये है आदि कि अगर आप ईरान का भी देखोगे ना, the Iranians are not very good with the Talibs on the border. The Iranian Taliban, they keep on clashing. Even आज भी थोड़ा सा उनका निमोस के पास clash हुआ है, right? So they do have their own issues, but I think right now, those issues are minor issues. But on the larger front, they might strike a deal with TTP, help them with material and men, not with men, but with material and money. And, they'll be happy sitting, watch back and see the Pakistanis being taken by the TTP plus. The Pakistan is chewing more than what is on their plate. The problem with Pakistan is it has trying to swallow a lot more than what they can actually digest. पाकिस्तान का प्रॉब्लम वहां है क्योंकि जो बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम है अगर हम इसको देखें, जो रशिया में अटैक हुआ आईसिस का, राइट, एंड इमीडिएटली आफ्टर दैट अटैक द रशियंस हैव रियलाइज्ड दैट अफगानिस्तान इज अ स्ट्रेटेजिक प्लेयर इन दिस होल रीजन एंड दे नीड टू बी टेकन ऑन बोर्ड. सो दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट delegitimating the Taliban from the terror entity and working with them and letting them have a consulate. So that is a big signal. Now, that is a game changer for the whole region because China is already working with them. The Chinese let the Taliban come to Beijing and hold meetings with them there. The Russians will follow the suit. The Iranians will follow the suit. And what will happen is that again, Afghanistan will largely fall into the lobby of China, Russia, Iran axis. Now, Pakistan is something which plays both sides, and both the lobbies realize it. The Chinese realize it, the Russians realize it, even the Americans know, right? So the Pakistanis are not something which are a permanent part of the lobby. They're running with the hares and hunting with the hounds,
Hmm.
and ultimately they'll get hunted as well. So what has happened? I have a very, I will say, a very light take onto this. Pakistan created something called the good Taliban and the bad Taliban. The
Mm-hmm.
region is realizing that the good Taliban is sitting in Afghanistan and the bad Taliban is sitting in Pakistan and needs to be taken out. So
Hmm.
Pakistan, by de facto, has become the bad Taliban. It has become everybody's eyesore, and everybody wants to deal it with the good Taliban, which is in Afghanistan. So they are furthering empowering the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. They're further giving them more, weightage, more empowerment, and Taliban is getting stronger and stronger. And the more stronger Taliban gets, Pakistan the situation gets more dicey, and Pakistan gets more weaker. Because if you look at the statements coming from Taliban, they are saying that they are eventually going to take care of the Pakistanis. They are going to fight till the end. They are being very brazen about their comments against the Pakistanis. So the war is out in the open. There might be boxing, but shadow boxing was open ring mein ho raha hai. So that is what is happening.
That's very interesting. क्योंकि देखिए, the most important thing that I actually wanted to actually talk about is Pakistan. उसके ऊपर थोड़ा सा बात करेंगे. But I want to come to the larger game in the region. Now, you said China, you said Iran, you said Russia. Pretty much everybody is engaging back in this region. Americans का एक base already है बलूचिस्तान के अंदर जहाँ से वो drones वोन्स उड़ा रहे हैं. And the Afghanis have been crying about it कि साहब, what is this? What is happening? Why are you kind of flying on us and all that? Now, Pakistan is the guy who's doing this. ठीक है, जो the blowback will come on to Pakistan itself. That is point number one. The point number two, which is what you're saying, that the unraveling of Pakistan, and मैंने जो एक वो डाला है, that वो दिन आ गया. This is the day that Pakistan has stepped into, what, lying in the middle of the road. तो वो तो है. But let's go to the region. Iran का क्या interest है इस time के अंदर? Because Iran also looks around and says, यार, I have an escalation with Israel, and I have this front opened here as well. What do I do?
See, the problem with the Iranians is that they are stretched out in the Middle East, right?
Hmm.
And for now, they are toxing and foxing them. अगर आप देखोगे, they were controlling the Houthis, and the Houthis are very much under their control. Largely now, if you look at the West Bank and what is happening in the West Bank, it seems like PIJ is totally in collaboration with the Iranian IRGC,
Hmm.
and we will see that activities in West Bank will open up. It's going to spread to West Bank what is happening in Gaza. Okay. If you look at the activities which are happening in Syria and the way the Israelis are bombing Syria, it is very evident that Iran's footprint there is pretty wide and pretty large. Same उनका Lebanon में भी है, and they went and they hit them also in they hit their embassy also. So जहाँ तक Iran का Iran is fully stretched out. Now the problem with the Iranians right now is that they would not want to see any major escalation either with the Pakistanis or with the Afghans. With the
Hmm.
Taliban, they don't have any major issues as of now. But with the Pakistanis, they have a major issue since Jaish-e-Adil, kind of reactivated its activities, and its activities went up a lot since ISKP guys were caught in Iran who were trying to, orchestrate another terror attack in Iran. So Iran realizes that, they might be there is an enemy at their back. There is an enemy which is stabbing their back, and that enemy is the Pakistanis, which are embracing them from the front and stabbing them in their back. So the
Absolutely.
Pakistanis have, sorry, the Iranians have realized that. But what options Iran has? Seriously, I don't see a
Hmm.
direct military escalation. Iran will do an escalation, Pakistanis will carry out an escalation, but the escalation is possible. But that is only possible if Taliban steps in, if they have a tacit understanding with the Afghans, because that means then stretching your forces right till the Iranian border. The Pakistanis will have to redeploy, from KPK towards the other side and reinforce their Iranian border. in that situation, then Pakistan becomes very precarious. Then the Iranians will like it because then the Afghanis have a freedom. So Pakistani forces will be stretched and will be worn thin. So that is another option Iran has. But will Afghans go to that level to give them that kind of a support? Because that will be kind of a, more than a half open kind of a war. But the way this is happening and the way that, IS is resurging in the world, I think it's the air which is coming where this second form of terror is again global terror is going to hit, all the countries. Now this time the targets are different. पहले तो Western allies थे, इस बार the allies have been changed. The organization is the same, the terror organization is the same, the motive is the same, but the targets are different. And the targets are the non-US allies. So countries like Iran, we have seen, Afghanistan is on the target, we have seen, Russia, we have seen. So there is a deliberate attempt against the US allies. So somewhere, there is an American game which is being played and American interest is being served. So that is what is happening. So the resurgence of ISIS, I think, is a major worry. But for how long will they be able to resurge it from Pakistan and how successful they are going to be, from Nangarhar and from Pakistani area? That depends because Pakistan के पास कितना है कि वो, it can perpetrate it into different areas and different zones. Iran pe to, yes, Jaish-e-Adl has been working for a very long time. It's not a new organization. It's been working for decades now, right? They have their terror infrastructure set up. They carry out attacks in and out in Iran, in and out there out of that place, Sistan, Balochistan. But ISKP ka jahan tak hai, this is a new surgence and this is a big surgence, right? What Pakistanis have done is while the Americans were busy with the Taliban and, they had this FATF grey listing happening of organizations like Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba. What the Pakistanis were doing was they were very quietly, very smartly building up the ISIS at that point of time. And that is what Pakistan has been trying to do. And it holds same true in India as well. ISIS largely was said that Pakistanis have no hand in ISIS if it is ISIS in India. But today's date, the ISIS in India has a huge ISI footprint. It's an extension of ISI. It is ISIS. So that is the game they are trying to play, and they're trying to play this in many regions. अब पाकिस्तानी की प्रॉब्लम ये है कि Americans are keeping them on adrift. The Americans are not going to give them the way they supported them against Afghanistan, in the war against terror. वो तो हो नहीं रहा. So ना ही अमेरिका एक स्ट्रेटेजिक, ना ही पाकिस्तान एक स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनर कभी यूएस का बनेगा. The Americans are going to milk Pakistan as a client state to the maximum. So Pakistanis, but the problem with Pakistanis is they don't know any other game to play. If they don't put it outside, they will implode. All these jihadis will start eating themselves, right? So in अपना implosion जो है avoid करने के लिए, they are trying to export it. But little did they realize that what is sitting in Afghanistan, what they created in the name of Taliban, is just an extension of what they have inside, and they are going to consume them. So that is one thing, and the Iranians will play a very slow game with Pakistanis. The Iranians will use a lot of diplomacy. I think the Chinese involved, right? And the Pakistanis are going to get a stand down from the Chinese on this. Chinese are not going to like it because आज Iran में हो रहा है, कल
China तो मेरे, I mean, my analysis says that boss, the China hit was ISKP, right? The Chinese are not idiots. उनको ये नहीं पता यार, the TTP and TTA is the same thing. Chinese are not idiots. तो कहीं ना कहीं, I think this attack was done by the Pakistanis themselves. It's not something which is a rogue organization or some. Nobody is taken. किसी ने बोला ही नहीं हमने करा है. There's never been a terrorist attack like the fact कि भाई bomb फोड़ दिया, लेकिन nobody is ready to accept who's done it.
No, I remember the only attack which happened was that knife attack. If you remember in Xinjiang, हुआ था एक knife attack, about 19 odd were injured in that account. So what I see happening now is maybe there is another knife attack in China. Who knows? Maybe the Pakistanis carried out another one just to implicate the Afghanis more. That could be a reason. That could happen, right? But I don't see it happening in China. I don't spreading it to China because Pakistanis are not going to annoy the Chinese right now. The Chinese are very much annoyed after that blast which happened in Pakistan. That suicide bomber took him, took that
मैं
vehicle
वही
off.
बोल रहा हूँ. I'm saying that only, that suicide bombing was done by the Pakistanis themselves.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. See, the Pakistani game is very simple. Na? उनको लगता है कि what they played with America, they will create their own attack and then they'll say, we will protect you. The Chinese are going to do the same or fall in the same trap. The Chinese are much smarter than the Americans. In that
Yeah,
case, the
yeah.
Chinese are no nonsense in that case. America is willing to play double side and take its own losses and play the larger game. The Chinese don't. So the Pakistanis have got a huge dressing down from China. And Pakistan is not in a position, I think, to exploit that kind of shenanigans again with China in the near future. But yes, they will
Hmm.
try to outstretch this in Afghanistan and Iran. Now, if Iran and Afghanistan collaborate, boss, फिर तो पाकिस्तान का बहुत बुरा हाल होने
Which is going
then
to
तो
happen.
Pakistani,
जो होगा,
it
जो
is going
होगा,
to happen
because
because Iranians will not take it lying down.
yeah, yeah,
They are
वो
not
होगा.
going to take it lying down. इसमें तो उन्होंने बड़े स्मार्ट बने ना ये शाबार वाले में ये बड़े स्मार्ट है देखो ना उन्होंने तीनों को हिट किया they have tried to hit the Indian installations right our interests they have tried to hit the Afghanistanis and they have tried to hit and they have hit the Iranians if they think that this is going to go unanswered I think the Pakistanis are fooling themselves they are
Hmm.
flexing
Hmm. Hmm.
more muscles than they have their bones are going to get broken into this they're going to get crushed by the Iranians and the Afghans.
Let's look at थोड़ा सा regional भी देखते हैं, because if you have the Russians engaging with the Taliban, uh, which is
Hmm.
which is very interesting, क्योंकि Russians अगर घुस रहे हैं वहां पर, Russians will take revenge. Russian style of revenge is terrible. वो फिर things will fall here and there. Now, see, the Americans need to kind of re-engage in this region. थोड़ा physically आना पड़ेगा इनको, right? So you'll need to have some sort of a base or something like that. The Americans will have to build up so that they can start doing whatever operations they need to. And I believe Balochistan के अंदर है. Now the funny thing is, Balochistan के अंदर ISIS का भी presence है. So you can imagine. बट एक चीज मेरे को जो आपसे पूछनी है, इन द लार्जर मिडिल ईस्टर्न ये जो वॉर और चल रही है, कि रीसेंट अटैक्स जो हुए हैं, इफ यू लुक एट व्हाट हैपेंड आफ्टर इसराइल, इसराइल के बाद जो एक नैरेटिव शिफ्ट हुआ है, दी रेडिकल इस्लामिज्म के ऊपर एक नैरेटिव कंप्लीटली शिफ्ट हो गया दूसरी तरफ, कि नहीं नहीं, देयर इज नथिंग कॉल्ड रेडिकल इस्लामिज्म, राइट? एंड दैट्स व्हाट वाज इज बीइंग प्रोपोर्टेड अराउंड. ये अटैक से रशिया के अंदर, चाइना के अंदर, इंडिया के अंदर, यूएस के अंदर वो एक सेंटिमेंट दोबारा वापस आया क्या पब्लिक के अंदर?
obviously
नॉट द गवर्नमेंट.
obviously sentiment वापस आएगा. And this, as these attacks increase, this is not a one-off incident which has happened, right? ये attacks होते रहेंगे. These attacks will pick up, and the more they will pick up, the more resonance there will be, the more hue and cry there will be. See, when we talk about the radicalism, now the game would be that Muslim Brotherhood का जो हमने देखा या Hamas का जो हमने देखा है, right? The Hamas attack was very much like the ISIS attack. What ISIS carried out in Syria in 2012, 2013 में जो उस war में the way they behaved, exactly that's how Hamas behaved, right? So कहीं ना कहीं that parallel is being drawn, first of all, and the collaboration of Muslim Brotherhood with the Iranian clergy is something which is very worrisome because
दैट इज
that
ट्रू.
tells you that that is a power which is emerging and which is a threat more to the Saudis, more to the UAE and their power and in Jordan. अब आप देखो जॉर्डन में भी जो है हमास स्टाइल जो है protest start हो गए हैं. They every day they are protesting in favor of Hamas, right? So they are
या
trying to make the whole region. They are trying to destabilize and take power from the whole region. ISIS failed in Syria. It didn't fail because the Americans fought in Syria. It failed because Bashir Assad, stood along with the Russians. The Russians and the Americans came face to face in that region. The Americans got defeated. Otherwise, the ISIS was unleashed on Syria solely with the thing कि they
बस
will
उसको हटाने
dislodge
के लिए.
Assad and then जो अरब स्प्रिंग का हाल था वही होगा. So that game failed there. But जो ये game develop हो रही है ना आदि, this is a bit dangerous because now this is developing in our neighborhood. This is developing in Pakistan, which is our immediate neighborhood. Now nobody is talking about ISIL. Nobody is talking about IS. Now ISKP is coming as a most potent ISIS
Yeah,
unit.
yeah.
Khorasan province is the one which I talked. So now this game is being played right in our backyard in our region. So we have to be very, very careful of how this game goes ahead, how the world powers go into it, because was for sure the Russians are going to come into Afghanistan, right? The Americans are going to come into Afghanistan. They're already there. They have taken a base in Nangarhar and they're carrying out drone strike. They promised the Afghanis will carry the drone strikes, will use our drones against the ISIS. तो एक तो बलूचिस्तान में उनके एयरबेस है, एक उनका अफगानिस्तान में एयरबेस है. So they are already playing that game. दोनों साइड खेल रहे हैं वो. The Russians are going to come in. The Iranians are going to come in. So the theater is going to change from Middle East to this side, and that is what we have to be extremely careful about, because this will
That's
start showing its face in next 2 years.
yeah, yeah,
अब आप
yeah,
देखो,
yeah, yeah.
बैंगलोर में जो हुआ, right? It's a precursor. It's not a one-off thing. They have been working in that area for a very long time. The whole southern belt, the ISIS penetration, the PFI,
Very
the
high.
way that whole thing played their game for a decade uninterrupted, it has created huge, radicalization pockets in the south itself. Now, people don't want to
Yeah.
talk about it, but then that is the reality, and it's going to bite us if we don't wake up
Hmm.
and we don't, smell the coffee. So we do have our own problems, and it is going to increase in the region.
Hmm.
So the game is going to get very, very dangerous,
Yeah, yeah. We have
because
to be really
Pakistan is
smart
fighting
about
for
it.
its survival. Pakistan is going to fight for its last survival.
Absolutely.
After this,
Let's
there is no other fight of survival for Pakistan. This is the fight of survival.
let's come to that. देखिए normally हम तो अभी हमारे जो our CDS was there who God rest his soul in peace. He said 2.5 front, right? China, Pakistan, and the internal half front. ठीक है जी. Now let's look at Pakistan. Okay. So you've got India number one. ठीक है. You've got the Taliban. The Taliban वहां से भी झगड़े होते हैं आपके. Number two. You've got Iran. Number three.
Yeah,
I will put TTP and BLA as one front. ठीक है.
right.
And then you've got the internal front of people like Imran Khan, who's literally now gaining power at the back end. ठीक है.
So
उसने जजेस को
4.5.
only कर. ठीक है. जजेस को उसने टाइट कर रखा है. आर्मी अभी क्वेश्चन में आ गई है. वो दो 6 जजेस हैव रिटन अ लेटर शेटर एंड ऑल दैट स्टफ. काफी हवा हो रखा है उस चक्कर में. So there is an internal front also, which is not
Another
secessionist
one.
but a radical front which will not let any orders settle in. ठीक है.
Which is very
ये
pro-Taliban.
ये भाई तो 5 फ्रंट पे लड़ रहा है.
See, when we talk about 2.5 fronts, Adi, we are talking about the conventional war. We are talking about China as a country and its military might. We are talking Pakistan as a country and its military might. We are talking about the 0.5 front we have within the subversive activists, whether they were in Kashmir or other parts of India, right? We're talking about them. When you look at the Pakistani 4.5 or 5.5, why don't you count the insurgents which are sitting inside Pakistan and waiting for the right time for Pakistan to implode? They are also
या
enemies of Pakistan. They are not loyal soldiers of
वो
Pakistan.
वो वो टीटीपी बीएलए वो पूरा उसके अंदर एक फ्रंट में मैंने
नहीं,
डाल दिया उसको.
I will tell you, an organization like Jaish-e-Mohammed will not blink an
Oh,
eye the day they see Taliban
weakness.
gaining ground in Pakistan. Same with Lashkar-e-Toiba.
तो
They are
आप तो
not
6 फ्रंट
Pakistani
बोल रहे हो.
nationalists.
होल्ड
They
द
are not
प्रेस यार. आई हैव टू
loyalists to Pakistan.
होल्ड द प्रेस बॉस. ये तो 6 फ्रंट हो गया अभी.
हाँ, तो ये वही गिना रहा हूं मैं आपको. बट ये सारा जो है, ये सारा जो आप देख रहे हो, ये कॉम्बिनेशन जो है, ये सारा जो है, ये इट इज अ प्रॉक्सी वॉर.
या
So what Pakistanis have done is they have had these 6, 7 tentacles they have, and now that tentacles are holding its own throat and strangulating the one who created them. That is what has happened with Pakistan and its proxy regime and its proxy war game, right? Because for how long will you use terrorism, or you will use proxies for for your national security and for your national it's a part of your national doctrine. You can't run a country on it. The Americans played the same game, but they never let them homegrown. They played it in others' backyards. The Pakistanis very happily opened their own backyard and said, please come and play in my home.
Pakistani
And
hospitality, yaar.
the Pakistanis were very hospitable. Now the problem is that they have taken the whole mess, they have made a whole mess, and that mess is going to consume Pakistan. Because all the shit is in Pakistan. I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah. नहीं नहीं
So
नहीं, आप
Pakistani
एकदम ठीक बोल रहे हो.
so तभी मैंने कहा ना, this is the fight for survival of Pakistan. This is where the fight for last survival is. इसके बाद पाकिस्तान को क्या survive करना? It has turned its best friend into its worst foe. It has turned its peaceful neighbor, a strategic partner, into a foe. It has really upset Russia uh, for what? For peanuts, not even peanuts,
रशिया,
right?
चाइना, अमेरिका सबको अपसेट कर दिया उसने.
It has disappointed the Chinese time and again to a point of no return. The brothers have a wall in between them now.
Mm-hmm.
So the Pakistanis are brilliantly played this self-isolation game, and they have isolated themselves. They are brilliant in playing this game. So self-isolation, अगर किसी को सीखना है, you learn from Pakistanis and their stupid policies. You can't play the same game. There's no, मतलब आप 40 साल से एक ही गेम खेल रहे हो यार. You only have one answer to every problem. Even if 40 years you take a crocin for a month, after 1 month it doesn't work on you for the same headache. You have to change the medicine. The problem is Pakistan की हर चीज की दवाई is a terrorism. Let us import terrorism and we will get money and we'll be fine.
ये बड़ा,
so
see,
everybody is bottom into their game.
Yeah, this is the whole point, which is where my last question to you before we get into audience के questions, कि यार देखो, you are in a position right now that आप एक जगह पे खड़े हो, this is a point of no return, ठीक है. And मैं ये guys ये चीज बड़ी clearly सुन लो आप, जो मैंने thumbnail पे लिखा है ना, वो दिन आ गया. That day is already here. It is here. Pakistan has already crossed that day. And that day, the first day was the first attack on Iran. क्योंकि उसके बाद पाकिस्तान की the day was he signed his own death warrant. Now I want to ask you a simple question. There are so many terrorist organizations in Pakistan. I mean, every third chap with a sick bloody ice pick and a fork and a bloody AK-47 is a terrorist organization. This is a ripe situation for a internal fight as well. And see, Americans का अगर आप इनकी policy structures पढ़ो आप, and they are very upset with Pakistan. ये अभी use कर रहे हैं because इनको चाहिए, ठीक है, but they are very upset with Pakistan. ये तो they want to teach Pakistan a lesson that nobody else should do this to another superpower again. So how do you see this?
They were very clear about it after Taliban.
हाँ, they were very clear about it. So and अगला आ रहा है Republican. तो यूज करके अब वो बोलते हैं ना टिश्यू पेपर की तरह इनको फेंकना है. सो व्हाट डू यू थिंक विल बी द फाइनल गेम ऑफ पाकिस्तान, फाइनल एंड ऑफ पाकिस्तान? क्या निकलेगा इसके अंदर से?
Problem with Pakistanis is that they are trapped in their own game, na?
So
Right.
what do you think? Somalia,
Worse than Somalia. Worse than Somalia. Ultimately, that is going to be their end. Because, see, what Pakistan was able to build in 30 years with 45 billion American dollars, let's look at Pakistan and see what they have built. Let's see what they have built, right? They have built zero, they have built zilch. All they built was terrorists after terrorists, terrorist factories after terrorist factories, and promoting narcotics and terrorists, nothing else, right? So even when Pakistanis were provided with an opportunity, they had the money, they could have built their institutions, they could have done something, they could have, kept terrorism a bit away, done something good for their country, ran their industries, given Pakistanis some hope. They didn't. They thought this is an endless game which is going to go on and they're going to milk the whole world on this game for next 100 years. And they're very, very important people. The problem is, that is where the problem is. And then obviously, when you start radicalizing your own people, when you start radicalizing your own generations, you will have a brain drain. Not even a brain drain, you will have a brain death. Because you're so narrowly fixated on religion and religious activities that you miss the larger picture, what is happening in the world. You want your own people and the regional people to believe that this is what the reality is. बस यही दुनिया है, इसके आगे कुछ भी नहीं, बाकी सब बकवास. And that is where the Pakistanis got trapped. So when it came time for Pakistanis to change, they had nothing to look at. And then they were very much confident that, Imran Khan was very confident he's going to sit there for 20 years. He had struck a deal with the TTP. They were very confident they were going to play this game. They were going to show their teeth to India. They are going to get very strong. Next jihad will be fought in Kashmir. Then the Chinese will be, shown the power. They will be subdued and they will be told that Pakistan is a very important ally. Little did they realize that that is not how this game is played. Because you can be clever by half, but then somebody is more clever, twice clever than you. And they are the ones who have orchestrated this whole game, this great game. They are not going to play according to your cards, but they're going to make you play their cards. So the Pakistanis held a bunch of jokers. They thought that joker is an ace. The ace was somewhere else. Pakistanis got done. Now it is a time for survival. If Pakistan tries to change now, if it takes the Saudi way, because Saudi Arabia, why is there no implosion in Saudi Arabia? Because Saudi is a very stable state. Their economy is rocking. Their armed forces are in absolute control. They have their monarchy is in absolute control. Pakistan is divided into six within six within six within six within ideology within ideology. In Saudi Arabia, there are no jihadis. It's the Saudis who have exported jihad to the world, but not even a single jihadi was given an asylum in Saudi Arabia. But the Pakistanis have all the jihadis accumulated in their own land. So if Pakistani tomorrow says that I want to reform myself, these jihadis will rise up and they will take their head by, dozens. So what does Pakistan do? It has to subdue it to its own radicalization. So it has to fight this game and it has to play this game to its end. That will be the end of Pakistan. It is almost the end of Pakistan. It's a quasi nation being pulled by different pulls, different powers from all around. It's a quasi nation. It is not a complete nation. And everybody is ready to have their pie now once it breaks, if it breaks. The Iranians will be very happy. The Afghans are eyeing them. The Chinese are eyeing them. We have our own, issues to settle with them. Americans are waiting to have their retribution against them. The whole world is against the Pakistanis and making them dance to their tunes. Pakistan की problem ये हो गई है कि उसको नाचना पड़े, whether he likes it or he doesn't like it. If it's like a dog whistle. So you whistle sit, they have to sit. You whistle stand, they have to stand. You whistle run, they have to run. You whistle chase your tail, they have to do a zooming and chase their tail. That is where Pakistan is today, unfortunately.
Now, I want to take this counter question. Okay, and this is a very important counter question, Rajesh ji ne. I just want to take this, guys, before I just, this thing, because it's an important counter question so that we can address this before we start taking the other things. And I like the counters. He says nothing's going to happen to Pakistan. Either the USA or China will come to the rescue of Pakistan. The USP and asset of Pakistan is terrorism. Everybody in the world wants to use their assets.
See, this is true.
Which is absolutely
true. I agree. But this is a very Pakistan way of thinking that we are very important. Nothing is going to happen to us. What is happening, Rajesh ji, is that the Pakistanis are being squeezed drip by drip, drop by drop of their blood. For how long? Where are they going to get these assets? What their population? Do you think they are going to convert the Afghans? Or they will keep on playing their games in other regions? Or they will come to Kashmir and try to change the Kashmiris, come back and join votes? No. Now the time is that Pakistani citizens themselves will have to enter this game. They will use their own radicalized citizens, and everybody has an end date. Everybody has an expiry date. So the Chinese are using them. Yes, till the time the Chinese use them, the Americans use them, they will keep them on like on a drip. They are on a drip. IMF paying. Aaj ki date mein Americans are not giving them any loans. They are not giving them any grants. They are saying, we'll give you IMF se loan lo, कर्जा वापस करो. So IMF के लिए they are desperate.
जनरल के जेब में पैसा गया होगा, कोई टेंशन नहीं है.
हाँ ठीक है, अब जनरल साहब को थोड़ा दे देंगे, उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. But look where Pakistan was 30 years ago. Look the way, the aid used to come to Pakistan from
Yeah, yeah.
1980 onwards, and look where it is today. Look at their economic condition today and look where they were in 1980s, 1990s. It's a
नहीं,
steep
correct.
fall. It's a nation in free fall.
Correct. And as far as Chinese is concerned, I think I've said this before also, मैं दोबारा बोलूंगा and give me your thought on it. मेरा फंडा बड़ा सिंपल है. Chinese will hold Gwadar as hard as they can. बाकी सब दिल से स्क्रू इट यार, जाता है जाने दो. ग्वादर इज अ स्ट्रेटेजिक लोकेशन, वहां पर पर्शियन गल्फ के माउथ में है. जितना टाइम तक आई कैन होल्ड द बेस विद माय ओन पीपल एंड सिक्योर इट, fair enough. Let's see how long I can hold it. That's what I mean. If I was a Chinese, I would say that hold it as long as you can. Simple.
No, if I'm a Chinese, I'll be looking at the money I've spent, about $19 billion on CPEC. I will look at my returns and then I will see that what am I going to get in next 10 years if I'm going to put money into Pakistan, the way I'm trying to
Hmm.
put money into Pakistan. Then I will
Yeah.
look at my other options. And I'll see that, okay, if Pakistan is very disturbed, very weak, how can I milk that situation and recover my money and recover my assets? Why would Chinese endlessly put money into a bottomless pit with no returns? It's hit them. So it's not going to happen.
It's not absolutely. But it's just a thought that I'm thinking कि जितना टाइम तक चाइनीज रह सकेंगे वहां पर रहेंगे. But beyond which, it is
Huh?
going to get unsustainable for the Chinese also. It's not something that is easy to deal with. Pakistan is unlike any other country in the world. And I'm sorry, guys. I broke my own rule. I called it a country. My apologies. मैं publicly apologize करता हूँ इसके लिए. And मुझे please माफ करिएगा सब लोग. तो वो मेरी गलती है. I accept it. Guys, please like this video, subscribe to the channel. Most importantly, spread the word about dev talks. आप लोग प्लीज लाइक करिए सबसे ज्यादा. दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग डिस्कशन. जैसे मैं बोल रहा हूँ, दिस सिचुएशन इज गोना ओपन आउट लाइक ईच लेयर ऑफ एन अनियन ओपन्स आउट. और वो खुलता रहेगा, खुलता रहेगा, खुलता रहेगा, खुलता रहेगा. The only factor is, I thought ये अनियन खुलेगा by about July, September, October, which is campaign season actually. आफ्टर मॉनसून के बाद सितंबर, अक्टूबर, नवंबर में विंटर के अंदर, विंटर से पहले थोड़ा कुछ होगा, उसके बाद देन नेक्स्ट ईयर ऑनवर्ड्स. बट दिस इज ऑलरेडी स्टार्टेड नाउ, सो दैट इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. एंड आप लोग इस चैनल की तरफ कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं यूजिंग द क्यूआर कोड, सुपर स्टिकर्स, सुपर चैट्स या फिर पेपैल, जो लोग डायरेक्टली कंट्रीब्यूट करना चाहते हैं. एंड पीपल हु स्टे अब्रॉड, लेट्स सी. आप लोग क्वेश्चंस, आपने क्वेश्चंस कह दिए हैं. Thought provocator, thank you so much. He says, Red Corner notice against Xi Jinping for nameplate thefts. Really?
I don't know. I'm not aware of something like this. Could be an April Fool joke. I really don't know. Somebody has taken it serious.
Gopal Krishnaji says, as per data, 126 billion credit to repay in the next 5 years. Will America, China support for that only? They have started new wars.
126 billion credit to repay in next 5 years. Yes, they have. But then who do they have to repay? They have majorly, they have either it's IMF or it's the Chinese. So do you think that they will keep on funding them to repay their own loans? It's like, I take out money from my pocket, put it in your pocket, and you then put it back in my pocket. But look, this region is very important geostrategically and geopolitically. And we are not saying that Pakistan doesn't have a role. The Pakistan has a huge nuisance role to play. The problem is the Pakistan, which was, which played the game and tried to come out clever, which tried to show the world that, it's a very powerful country, is not anymore. The Pakistanis are on its knees. And now it's not the Americans or the Chinese who will beg the Pakistanis, to be on their side. It's rather the Pakistanis who will beg every day to the Americans and to the Chinese to support them. So the Pakistanis have been brought to their knees. How long they can fight is something which we'll have to see.
Isn't that the biggest
This year seems to be very odd. But the
question of the
Pakistanis
century?
have been brought to the Pakistanis have been brought to their knees. They literally have to fight on their knees and they have to beg on their knees. They are not standing on their two legs already.
Rohitji asked, what will government of India do in case of an Iran-Israel war? How likely do you think that is? Why? Because there are reports of about 8-10,000 troops that have gone into Syria, Iranian troops, and approaching the goal line.
The government of India will do what it is doing now. The Iran and the Israel war is on. If you're talking about a conventional war where both the armies will fight each other directly, I don't see that happening. they are Iranians, the Israelis are provocating Iranians to take direct action, but for now Iranians are not doing it. But there could be
Mm,
a point where Iranians retaliate. It could happen. And I think GOI stance will be pretty much the same what we are seeing right now, what is happening in Israel-Gaza war. It will be trying to balance the both sides, call for peace, but I don't think it is going to overwhelmingly support one or the other. It will stand behind Israel, but then there will be Iranian interests which will be taken care of as well. So GOI
true,
will play according to the way we want our policy to go forward. And at that point of time, what suits us better is what we will take, not
true.
what suits to Americans or somebody else.
Uh, RMS says, Muneeb ji, the US transgresses Indian sovereignty and sends its security personnel to POJK, not POK. It is not even K, actually, it is just POJ. Okay,
Yeah,
there
it's
is an
POJK, a
eminence.
very small part of Kashmir and then large part of Jammu. Yes.
हाँ 2-3 इंच है ना कश्मीर के वहां पर.
It's POJK. I always say
दो दो
POJK.
हाँ 2-3 इंच है ना, कितना है, 2-2.5 इंच है,
नहीं,
कितना
दो
है
तीन इंच नहीं,
कश्मीर.
ज्यादा है. कोटली वोटली सारा है ना, मुजफ्फराबाद, मुजफ्फरनगर है ना. सॉरी, नॉट
या
मुजफ्फरनगर, आपका ये मुजफ्फराबाद है ना.
या तो वही.
कोटली मुजफ्फराबाद सारा.
आई कीप सेइंग दिस, 2-3 इंच है बस वहां पर तो पीओजे
नहीं
के.
नहीं, दो तीन इंच कैसे है?
आई एम जस्ट
बहुत है.
किडिंग,
गिलगित बल्तिस्तान
मजाक.
तक है.
नहीं नहीं, वो कश्मीर थोड़ी है. वो तो पीओजीबी है.
नहीं नहीं, वही मैं कह रहा हूँ, गिलगित गिलगित बल्तिस्तान जीबी की ही बात कर
So, मैं उसको पीओजीबी बोलता हूँ.
रहा हूँ.
ठीक है, वो
तो
अलग ही है.
वहां तक है, छोड़ेंगे तो ना इनको.
हाँ जी.
See,
अच्छा
the
चलो.
UK and the Americans are trying to do that. If you remember, last year also the American ambassador to Pakistan had two visits.
Two
Then
visits.
Ilhan Omar came and she went, right? So that is something which is going on for a long time. There is a trade agreement happening between going to happen, the free trade agreement between UK and uh, India. Now, it has also do a lot with the politics, the kind of right-wing party, what the world perceives a right-wing party sitting in India with the left sitting in UK and US. So there is a politics being played there as well. So there is messaging happening that way. So that is how I see it. But, I don't see anything beyond that. I don't see that, the Americans or the UK people have any heft or any depth right now that they will be able to orchestrate anything in Jammu and Kashmir. Because the way that whole, terror mechanism has been taken down by GOI, dismantled, completely dismantled. I don't think they have their assets left in Jammu and Kashmir who will break up trouble. But this is more of a messaging which they are trying to do. Obviously, they have always tried to do this. Americans have always played this game with us, and they will play this in future as well, because there are a lot of things at stake with America as well. कानून का केस देख लो, उस पर भी देख लो,
Hmm.
अरविंद केजरीवाल वाला उठा के देख लो, which is very, yeah, मतलब केजरीवाल a CIA agent. That is what I say now. Americans are talking about him every day, so
मैं तो
must be
आई
some
प्रूव
value to them,
मैं
no?
तो आई पुट माय मनी ऑन इट. मैं तो
So
प्रूव करके
elections
दिखाऊंगा.
are coming, and it's a messaging for the, it's just a messaging point of view, giving the opposition a point to talk about and break about. That is how I see it. I don't see anything else behind it. उतना ही दिखता है मुझे
True.
इसमें, उससे ज़्यादा मैं इसको
Absolutely.
importance नहीं.
Absolutely. Shaurya ji, this is the first time I watched you. I watch your videos when I get my free time. My question is, will India get involved if our interest in Chabahar are prone?
See, I think our interests are in Chawar, but more than ours, the Iranian interests are very, very high. So are the Afghan interests, right? Obviously, India will watch its interest where it is needed. We have never shied away from watching over our interests. But I think it's a situation which the Afghanis and the Iranians will have to see very deeply and very seriously. And they are the ones who will have to deal with it, because they are the ones who are the direct, I would say, benefactors of Chabahar Port 1. 2, they are the ones who are going to get directly affected if something happens in this region. So I think it will be Iranians and the Afghanis who will be taking care of this issue, and taking Pakistan to task on this thing. Where our interests are, how we deal with our interests, we are not a terrorist nation. We don't carry terrorist strikes. We don't do that shit. So we have a diplomatic way of dealing with it. We'll deal with it diplomatically. We've been dealing with Pakistan diplomatically for 30 years, and we have successfully, debunked them, defeated them, done everything with them, done over them. We're basically done with them. So continue the same model with them.
True. Godspeed, thanks so much. He says, why don't we heat up borders with Pakistan? I kind of
Why should
oppose this.
we?
Why should we?
Why should we? See, you can heat up anything, but then are you sure that it will remain to the heat where you have lit the fire, or the fire will spread? And why do you want the fire to spread? When you are progressing, your economy is growing, the world is looking at you at a very stable country. Why do you want to do such a foolish thing? And
Mm.
when Pakistani borders are on fire from all the sides, why do you want to light up more fire? Just sit back and watch the fire. Why should we do it?
And
We have
the threat
absolutely
is
no,
more than enough.
it doesn't make sense to us.
जी. The threat is more than enough. And I keep saying this. मैंने आज सुबह जैसे बोला था अपने छोटे से where I said कि you please day for yesterday I said please go buy the popcorn. Today it is time to go locate the popcorn, open the bowl, set up the microwave. In a couple of days
Sorry,
I'll
could you
tell you
repeat
when
that,
to.
Adi?
I'm saying
Could you repeat that?
yeah, I'm saying couple of days ago I advised everybody please buy popcorn. पॉपकॉर्न जाके खरीद लो आप, ठीक है? आज मैंने बोला कि साहब पॉपकॉर्न को आप ज़रा बोल छोल में डाल के माइक्रोवेव रेडी कर लो एंड यू विल फाइंड इन द नेक्स्ट फ्यू डेज आपको माइक्रोवेव का बटन दबा के पॉपकॉर्न रेडी करना पड़ेगा.
That's a good way of putting things across. That is true. You just enjoy your popcorn, no?
Yeah,
Watch
yeah,
the
yeah,
fireworks.
yeah. SN says from recently concluded parliamentary elections, they were heavily rigged. What are the political positions being taken by the rigged winners as well as the aggrieved losers?
See, the Pakistani elections have always been rigged. This is not the first election which has been rigged in Pakistan. Right from 1970, the first general election, every election in Pakistan has been rigged. Now, the point is, how much political capital the army had to handle those rigged elections and come out as, I would say, victorious and, completely mess up their aggrieved losers or, put them behind bars. They have lost their political capital as well. The problem is the aggrieved losers are not really the losers this time. Imran is not a loser. Imran might not have won the election, but Imran Khan still is a substantial force within Pakistan to reckon with. Imran is getting his bails. There is a huge lobby within Imran, backing Imran Khan. There is rift in the army. There is a huge lobby of Pakistani army which backs Imran Khan. So yes, politically he might have lost. He came out at the top of the election, was made to lose. But I don't think that Imran is out of the game like Nawaz was, where he had to flee the country. Musharraf had to leave the country. Bhutto had to leave the country. Imran has never had to leave the country, nor he will leave the country. Imran is somebody who's seriously eyeing a comeback, and I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back in next 2 years. So yes, for now he might be seen to you as a loser, but I don't see Imran Khan as a loser. I see Imran Khan somewhere still fighting there, and Imran is still very, very relevant in the political system. So it's going to be an internal fight between the army and the political system as well. They're fighting with the judiciary anyway. There is an open fight happening between judiciary and the Pakistani army. There is an open fight happening within Pakistani army. There is an open fight happening between the politicians and Pakistan. Every institution in Pakistan is fighting each other. So nobody has lost. It's just that nobody has won either. They all are losers in their own terms. That's how I see it.
Yeah, that's true. Dr. MPC, thank you so much. He says, sir, are we prepared for any meltdowns of Pakistani reactors? Are they managed properly and secured?
Well, Pakistani reactors will not melt down, but I understand what your concern and your question is. That is a concern which is troubles a lot of us, but I don't think that it's going to get to that situation where the meltdown will happen so quickly. It's not going to happen that quickly, and uh, you know there are the Americans, the Chinese won't let that happen. If push comes to shove, it comes to a situation like that, the Chinese or the Americans will completely take over the control. The Chinese, anyway, are in control of the cyber security of that place. So the Chinese will effectively lock that place down, and it will be quite secure. I don't think that the nuclear meltdown will happen and the meltdown will flow to Afghanistan or to Khorasan or something. If that your question is, I don't see that happening. It's not that easy. It's not going to happen.
Simran says, the Guardian has again accused India today in an article for killings in Pakistan. Is this strategy to put pressure on the trade deal with UK? Yeah, well, you know what? I will cover
Well,
this in a complete episode tomorrow, but your comments as
yeah,
well.
but
This is a
look,
funny,
it's
funny
a
situation.
left-centric media, and it's a narrative game they're trying to play. It is not to put pressure on trade deal with UK. Look, today Indian economy is bigger than the UK economy, right? They cannot dictate the trade deal to us. We will choose the trade deal of our suit, what suits us, and we'll go ahead with it. So if UK wants to try all its dirty tricks by raking up Kashmir or by writing any nonsense in the article, they're more than welcome to do that. They've been doing that since yonks now. All these Washington Post, New York Times, Guardian, we really don't care. It doesn't matter to us. That time and era of India is over where we would worry what a foreign opinion writer would talk about India. We are a very confident and very resurgent India. I don't think it worries us.
ट्रस्ट यू मी, इफ यू रीड दैट सच अ जोक ना, बड़ा मजा आएगा। कल इसको ये आर्टिकल को खोल के एक चीज खोलने में बहुत मजा आएगा मेरे को। So I'm actually waiting for this video to come because I'm going to rip this thing open and मैं उसके बाद कुछ और चीजें दिखाऊंगा which is called title 50. So I'm just leaving it there. That's going to be a big surprise coming for everybody.
And
Himanshu
I'm
ji,
looking forward to.
it's going to be very interesting because I just read a book, by the way, of which is called Surprise Kill Vanish by Annie Jacobson. Okay, she's this amazing writer. Okay, and she talks about exactly what the Americans used to do. So we shall talk about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Himanshu Tiwari ji says with the recent Jaish-e-Adal attack in Iran is fueled by CIA through Pakistan. If then, what is the message being sent, or is it just a terrorist attack? Messaging we've kind of discussed. Do you want to say anything more?
Well, it's a simple message. It's a message which says that Pakistan is on higher to the highest bidder. The Pakistanis will be very happy, taking money from Iran and then putting terrorists in Israel as well for a price. पकड़ा तो है आईसिस का आज उन्होंने जेरूसलम में पकड़ा है नहीं मॉड्यूल इजरायली अरब्स right? So the Pakistanis are for hire to the highest bidder. The Pakistanis are out there to sell themselves, but Jaish-e-Adal resurgent. देखो Jaish-e-Adal जो है 2012 से is very active in Balochistan area and they have been carrying out attacks against Iran. But there was a period when Jaish-e-Adal actually nearly stopped its activities, and that was when Imran Khan was in power. Right now, Jaish-e-Adal, after the Israel war, Jaish-e-Adal again has gone ahead and again has become very volatile and started attacking Iran all over again. So, Jaish-e-Adal is also somebody who is supplying its fighters to ISKP. So, Jaish-e-Adal or ISKP का जो है आपस में जो है there is a tie-up. The fighters are the same, the organizations are different. So yes, the American interest is there. Why do you think the Americans became cozy with suddenly with the Biden had to write a letter to this guy Shabazz Sharif, their ambassador is visiting POK, or they got their renewed deal, IMF ka loan मिल रहा है. The Americans are cozying up to Pakistanis. They're not cozying up to Pakistanis because they're missing Pakistan. They're cozying up to Pakistanis because they want to squeeze them more for their own interest against Iran, because they know that Iran is fighting them in Israel. So Correct. They are fighting now in Pakistan. It's as simple as the Pakistanis are open to hire anybody who has the money can hire anything.
चलो crowdfunding करते हैं guys. Let's hire the Pakistani.
I actually gave an idea. I'll tell you something. I actually, when Pakistan started going bankrupt 2 years before, I actually said let's do a crowdfunding and send them some money to stay afloat and say that this is some money from India. Add to your economy. It will help you. Just ₹1 each. 145 करोड़ बहुत होता है.
पाकिस्तान बैठ के देवल बड़ी के साथ ये क्या किया तुमने भाई, बचा दिया. Oh God. All right. Is this true? UP ATS arrested 3 terrorists of Hizbul Mujahideen from India-Nepal border near Sanauli in Uttar Pradesh. 1 terrorist is from Kashmir, 2 are from Pakistan. Today.
I really don't know when this has happened. Is it a very recent thing?
Today.
Okay, so I have not checked the updates what has happened today, but if this would have happened, I wouldn't be surprised. Because Nepal has been a very old route for Hizbul Mujahideen and JKLF both. And Nepal से 90s में तो बहुत होता था. In fact, there are a lot of separatist meetings which used to happen in Nepal. Pakistani ISI used to operate from there. Last year also they caught one boy in Raxol. He was coming back from Nepal, and he was a part of the Pakistani ISI module in Kashmir. So very much possible, and yes, could have been happened. To Pakistanis, no big deal. Pakistanis are coming in hordes in any way they try to get into. So it's not a major thing which I would look and say, oh my God, what is this? This is something. This is a route which has always been exploited by the Pakistanis. Nepal has always been a preferred destination to come in. Even though हमने surrender policy JNK government ने दिया था, उसमें भी नेपाल जो था that was the preferred route for the surrendered terrorists as well at that time. That time as well. So
Yeah.
very much possible. No major implication. No major deal.
Second last one, anti-SWLA says, will the Chinese do some military actions to protect the CPEC assets? This is going to be very interesting because the last attack was just outside the Chinese area. What
Yes,
if the attack
and
goes
you know
inside?
what? I will tell you something. If the CPEC would have been working to the expectations of the Chinese army would have been out there protecting every installation they had because they had their business interests. Like right now, the problem with CPEC is it's bad business. It's business gone bad. So I don't think China will put its men out in the boot unless and until they want to revamp their activities in the region and they want seriously, Pakistan starts paying them back the loan they are getting. The day Chinese think that they are going to get money in this area is the day Chinese boots will be in the area as well. The Chinese boots have been in the area before also. ऐसा नहीं है कि Chinese boots have not been in Pakistan. Chinese boots have been in Pakistan, but the Pakistanis wanted some money and assured them that they will raise two mountain divisions to protect the Chinese. If things go the way they are going, the Chinese will put in the boots and give a run to Pakistani army and tell them to get lost from the area and take the area over. This will
Hmm.
happen the day Pakistan completely defaults on Chinese loans. Chinese will put
Correct.
boots in on their CPEC areas. It will happen in future. होगा.
Two small comments. MPC साहब कहते हैं, thank you so much. Firstly, Adi, what are you saying? According to these news outlets, we should condemn the demise of these innocent terrorists. Absolutely.
Well,
Innocent,
I don't know. I
innocent है
mean,
यार
I
बच्चे हैं.
really don't know what to say. It's a nice joke.
Yeah. And JP का final closing comment लेता हूँ मैं. I think this is the clincher for today's show. So the conclusion is, it is better for Pakistan to declare itself over as a country.
The whole world realizes it's over as a country. It's a quasi country. It's only the Pakistanis who think they're still a mulk, right? A mulk going rogue. But
Yeah.
then, yes, it is true. The conclusion is absolutely right. Pakistan is over as a country.
Yeah.
It's
I think
Pakistan's
this is
last survival fight to stay as a quasi state.
yeah, yeah. And the fight is actually beginning to rise up from the inside, which is something I'm going to discuss in the next couple of days because the Andar ki fight, which is also coming out with Asim Munir and this and that, is getting to be a little dangerous. These monkeys are trying to cover it up, but this thing is going to explode very very soon. Because if they Imran Khan को जिस तरह से ये लोग handle कर रहे हैं, if this thing
Yeah, yeah,
kind of
let
goes out of
Imran come back.
control,
No? Let Imran come back and then see what happens.
it will explode. It will explode. So
Yes,
we'll probably
absolutely.
cover that in the next time. But till then, thank you so much, for taking out the time. I hope you feel
Thank
better
you.
as well.
I'm extremely sorry for my jittery connection today. I'm traveling
No,
and I'm really, really sorry about it. Sorry to
not a
the
problem.
viewers,
Yeah,
especially because, they are sitting and they're waiting for it. So I'm sorry if,
no, not at
quality
all.
of the
Thank you
video is
so
not
much
that.
for the
I'm very
time
sorry.
and
Thank you,
your
Aadi. Thank
insight.
you so much. Have a good night. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.